You all saw that, right? That's exciting. I'm excited. I'm so proud of what the teams pulled off today. It's really, really amazing work. We'll get to the demos very soon, but first let's get some context. If you know me, if you know Sanity, you'll know we are huge believers in structured content. And the essence of that is separating content from presentation. And this approach is absolutely vital for any fast-moving, large-scale content operation. And it unlocks kind of an aggressive iteration and an uncompromising approach to user experience. In short, if you're really ambitious, you need structured content. So let's celebrate that, but also let's acknowledge that there are some challenges that comes along with that. And to celebrate and to acknowledge, let's bring on stage Toby Jarvis. He's the co-founder and director at evensix. It's a digital brand and product agency for teams with ambitious ideas. Welcome to the stage, Toby.
Hi, Simon.
Toby, you have done some awesome stuff. We'll look at it shortly, but tell me, why is structured content important to you at evensix?
Yeah, then I think structured content for us, it gives us the ability to kind of create, quite interesting interfaces, as well as being able to connect to different channels and platforms. And yeah, just the possibilities are kind of endless once you start applying that structure into your content. So yes, it's an exciting time as well with structured content as well. So yeah, lots of great benefits there.
Yeah, you sometimes also need that kind of cross-channel publishing. That's kind of part of the story for you, right? In addition to the visual excitement.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's one of those things that when you really start structuring your content, you can start moving it across channels, making it work harder for you. And it's definitely a very important aspect for us here at evensix.
What I think is interesting with your work, which is on screen right now, is that it's very visually rich and striking, which I enjoy. I think a lot of people think of structured content as more like a catalog or something, but you really leverage that kind of part of the value of structured content. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, it's important to remember why we're doing it, right? There's some really exciting things that are possible within the web, and using structured content to make that happen is really what we try and sort of champion here. So, I think what you're sharing on screen is actually an interactive 3D product launch that we worked on. In order to make something like that work, obviously we need to be able to structure our content to push it into, in this case, a website. But yeah, the exciting stuff happens. Like with this one in particular, we're creating an interactive 3D tool that you can kind of scroll through, but to the features as well, there's actually stories that are assigned to those different features of why that product was manufactured in that way too. So they're kind of connected content as well, which is a really powerful thing that you can start to do. But yeah, to make it work on the front end, we need to be able to structure the content so we know how to send it through as well, right?
Yeah. No, I think this is this project is more of a kind of maybe something where it's more traditionally associated with having structured content, but also I think there you pull together all of the things. It's visually rich, complicated. I think this is also a multi-channel project, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Mobile and desktop, as we see.
Yeah, I think within this project, we're actually using Sanity a little bit more like you traditionally use a PIM. So there's a lot of data that are housed against these products, and they actually dynamically generate their product brochures, technical data sheets, the website itself. It's using lots of different services behind the scenes to make recommendations and connections too. So yeah, this is more traditionally where you've got structured content at scale across different channels. This one here is definitely that.
And this even delivers in the cutting edge media like paper, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. So having seen that, and there's so much more to talk about here, but one of the challenges we had back in the day when we kind of like basically led us to create Sanity was that it is turned out to be relatively easy to create. It's hard, but like the easy part sometimes is just creating that visually rich experience, and the really hard part is like making a reasonable experience for editors to kind of power that and run that and control that experience.
Yeah, 100%.
That's supposed to be a question.
Yeah, I mean, it is, right? You can create the kind of most interesting kind of experience, but making that editable by a content editor is hard, and that does require quite a lot of work in kind of describing the type of content that they can edit and the rules around it too. So yeah, it is it's a difficult task sometimes to make those kind of things happen possible. Yeah.
Do you invest a lot in kind of the editorial experience at evensix? Do you kind of spend time on building the studio?
Absolutely, 100%. So we spend a lot of time in the kind of content modeling phase with a more semantic model. So any of the kind of fields and things like that we use have definitions and examples, and they're there to kind of help guide content editors to understand what the fields do, how they what involvement they have. Which is really quite important when you're decoupling content from presentation. You really do need to describe its role and its purpose. So yeah, huge amount of time. We've even built tools. I think we shared a video a while ago where we've built a kind of a modeler inside of Sanity, so we can utilize some of the collaborative features of Sanity to help us create the kind of structure too. So yeah, that's a big part of what we do.
What kind of builder is that? Like, maybe we should go that deep. But I guess we should. It sounds like we should just do a webinar, to go really deep on this stuff at some point. Would you be up for that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we can show you behind the scenes on some of these projects that we're talking about as well, and you can kind of see how we're structuring things, and maybe that could be useful for a lot of people too.
That would be amazing. So let's get that scheduled. But I've heard you talk about that friction can be good sometimes in terms of like creating the editorial experience. And
yeah, I mean, absolutely.
How does that work? Like, there's certainly some friction today with the platform, and it's not really good.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about kind of considered friction. Unnecessary friction is something we want to get rid of, right? So considered friction would be things like if you're publishing one piece of content across lots of different channels and lots of pages on the website, you want to be aware that you're doing that and all the different roles that piece of content could have. But yeah, at the same time, unnecessary friction where it's, well, how do I find that attribute, becomes something we want to get rid of as an agency, right?
And that's something I have to kind of admit, that sometimes when people are doing very visual stuff and are very decomposed, I sometimes can feel a little bit of there are some use cases where it becomes very tricky for editors to find the right places. And this is what we're talking about today, right? This is the whole point of this release, is kind of overcoming that last. To me, that seems like to be the last point of using any kind of old school content management system. But can you kind of make that specific to us, like how to someone who hasn't maybe experienced like a fully decoupled content model, which is very powerful, but what kind of friction does that lead to for editors?
Yeah, I mean, it's one, if you kind of traditionally think about, you used to have kind of an old edit page or whatever at the top of your browser, and you kind of go in, and then, as things got more and more complicated, you realize that field that you wanted to edit actually isn't even on that page anymore. That was something that was, a real challenge, right? When you're decoupling content, you're really looking at where does that content actually live. And so, you know, if you're less familiar with the model itself and kind of where your content might actually live, it becomes harder for you to find it. And sometimes you actually do need a visual reference to be able to jump into where that thing is and edit it, you know. And especially when you're dealing with content at scale, like large amounts of content and large amounts of data, finding that thing, you know, can become harder if you haven't, you know, if you're not familiar with the content model itself.
Exactly. So with the you've tested out this new tool we're launching today, the presentation tool, where you're attempting to kind of bring that back, to basically take the visual experience and bring it into the browser. How does that work for you on your team?
Well, I think it's really exciting, like, because sometimes when you're, you know, some of the things that you're doing on the front end, you're actually kind of bringing lots of pieces of content together. And you're actually creating a scenario that you couldn't necessarily see in, you know, in Sanity previously. So an example might be on that CFS project that you brought up. We're bringing all the products and all the product variant data all together in one place. You can now just click on one of those fields and it will take you off to its particular product variant and attributes, so you can edit the data from there, which is, yeah, really, really powerful. We've been playing with it a lot.
Yeah, what I really enjoy is how, like, it brings because it's still structured content. Like, it isn't trying to edit visually. You still see the actual structure and like still realize like how they are connected in a way, right?
Yeah, it's really good to see. I mean, we've been playing around with some kind of more abstract ideas with, maybe we'll show this another time, how we kind of, connect some of this content and really utilize the new feature that you've released in ways that you might not necessarily just imagine straight out of the box. So yeah, some of that stuff with, you know, 3D in the browser and stuff like that, you know, they're very visual things, and actually you want to edit the content from a visual narrative in that perspective. So it gives you the ability to do that, which is really powerful.
Perfect. Thank you. That's amazing, Toby. And I look forward to our upcoming webinar, which is hereby. I see the teams are already talking and setting it up. So that's amazing. This is happening in the chat right now. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Toby. That was awesome. Looking forward to that webinar. That was Toby Jarvis of evensix Agency, one of our valued partner agencies, showing the way with awe-inspiring experiences powered by structured content. So that sets the stage, right? I think everyone is ready for a proper demo at this point. And here to kick off the demos is Molly Frederick from the product marketing team. Take it away, Molly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simon. We are thrilled to have evensix, and we're looking forward to the next event that we get to have with them. So jumping in here with presentation and comments, we are giving you more ways to work efficiently and collaboratively with structured content. And our end game here is, you know, as always, to be your partner in getting really compelling digital experiences to market faster and do so more confidently. And so today we're going to take a deep dive into two new features, presentation and comments. And as a bonus, we have Simeon, who's one of our incredible solution engineers, here to join as well. He's going to demo the Embeddings Index API. So this is a feature we launched earlier this fall. He's going to demo that against a really awesome AI personalization use case. So we're excited to see that today as well. Before we dive into the demo itself, it's really helpful to just kind of touch on a couple of core concepts that exist at the heart of Sanity. So the first idea is that content is separated from presentation. So as an example, this, product content that we have here is not locked one-to-one with any given instance where it is displayed as an end experience. And so that means that the content you work on here is actually distributed across all of these other surfaces rather than being created in context of the website or the mobile app, for example. And then the second key concept is that your content is structured. And what I mean here is that, this product content is actually broken down into smaller parts whose relationships between them can be really granularly defined. And so that means that, you're able to pull together the different combinations of your content as makes sense for the end presentations. And so altogether, these two things really save content teams a ton of time by creating and managing content once rather than across every end presentation. But for many of us, it is a new way of thinking. You're starting with the content that you need across your customer journey. You're modeling it for reuse, and then you're composing that structured content into each end experience. So you scale by reusing content to create really cohesive, connected experiences, but it can introduce some friction for editors in certain situations. Having a vision for what the end experience looks like for an individual experience can be a little less intuitive. It can also be tricky at times to find the root content that powers a given end experience. And so this is exactly the friction that our latest feature presentation is here to solve. It's going to give you the content's confidence to be able to work with structured content visually and really get the best of both worlds. And then, of course, we also have comments today. And this is a really exciting opportunity here to enhance the experience throughout the Sanity Studio. So you're now able to comment at a field level and really bring your collaboration in context of the work that you're doing. Thrilled to be able to jump in. All right, now let's see this in action. So just to ground ourselves, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of this lovely e-commerce website that we have here. What's special about this site is they have a lot of storytelling. They've got kind of their origin story. They've got information about materials, their maker process. There's a lot of really nice narrative within this, which matters for these kind of bespoke, custom created artifacts that they're selling. Now, what stands out to me and really brings to life the story of structured content is that throughout this narrative content, they've got a lot of conversion and commerce moments woven through it. So they've got, these nice hover actions where you can click to buy a product on this really striking hero image. They've got hotspots so that you can, again, explore products right from the narrative section. So that's a quick view of the space that we're working in. And now let's get to one of the kind of examples that really bring to life comments and presentation, and I'll take you through an end-to-end demo. So for pretty relatable experience for many of us is, we're in the middle of our to-do list and we get a message from a colleague. And oftentimes there's an adjustment that they need to make or something that they're flagging for us that we need to kind of address in the moment. And so here I have a Slack message from my teammate, Marissa. She sits on our customer support team, and she's letting me know here that it looks like on one of our pages we have the wrong product merchandised. So she's given me a helpful screenshot, but she's also linked to the actual URL of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and check out the page that she has flagged for me. All right, so here I'm on this page, and I'm going to go ahead and hunt down the issue that okay, so here's the two images that she had in the screenshot, and sure enough, I can see here we've got this soap dish item tagged here, and that's not actually in this image. And so as a merchandiser, I want to go ahead and update that, make sure that we are giving customers an easy way to purchase something that they see and like and respond to. So before I show off, visual editing and the presentation tool, I'm going to just briefly go through what the workflow would have been in Sanity before we had these newer features. So I'm going to hop into Sanity Studio, and here I'm in our structure section of the studio. And this is where we organize all of our content according to our content model. So we've got content types for pages, guides, collections, products. It's all very well organized, pretty intuitive. And, in the prior state before presentation, I would come here. I know that I'm looking at a page that Marissa had sent me. I'm going to go through and find the story since that's the one that we were on. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a sense of, how is this page built? And it kind of takes me a minute to recall the structure of this page. And so I check here and well, that's not it. So I'm going to keep looking. Oh, here it is. Okay. So now I'm remembering that we've got these two images and, yep, sure enough, I can see this is the autograph soap dish. There is no soap dish in this image. So I want to go ahead and update that. So before I actually take care of that task, I'm going to go back to the link that Marissa showed or shared with me and give you a sense of how that workflow is streamlined now with visual editing, which we launched earlier in the summer, as well as our brand new presentation tool. So here I can now see that when I hover over elements on my page, anything that's managed within the Sanity Studio and kind of pulling from our content lake is now clickable with these nice bounding boxes. So this is the image whose reference I need to update, so I'm going to click to open that. And what we see is this really nice experience where it jumped directly to an in-studio preview of the page that I need to work on, as well as scrolling me right down to the content that I was focused on. And so now I've got this asset open to take my action. So the first thing that I want to do then is go ahead and update this soap dish to be one of the items that's actually pictured here. So I will click here and I'm going to go ahead and swap this out. And I can see in that image that I've got an incense burner. Perfect. So I'm going to replace this here. And now I can see right away that this has been updated and I've got the right product linked to the right image, which is wonderful. And now I want to go ahead and let Marissa know that I took care of this action. So I'm going to go ahead and tag her. Oh, and this is actually a great moment of guidance from Sanity. So I started to tag Marissa in this comment here, but Sanity's letting me know that she's actually not authorized to view this page. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly send her a ping in Slack that we're all set. And we've taken care of that for Marissa, so now she's in the loop. And so I'm going to go ahead and delete this comment. And the next thing that I want to check on is just, who has been working on this product that maybe I want to keep in the loop. So I can see it's been a lot of work from myself and Canute. And so since Canute's been in this, I'm going to go ahead and let him know that we made this update today. Heads up, we had the wrong product linked here. So now he's got a heads up on that. That might just help him go and QA some other image tagging. And it's just always helpful to have your teammates in the loop when we make changes like this. And now we could have set this up to use Grok-powered webhooks and send this alert to go directly through Slack or other forums that we use. But out of the box, this sends Canute an email, so he'll get an update in his email, or it'll be here waiting for him the next time that he logs into Sanity. Okay, so, while I'm here, I can't help but notice that I don't love that these images are kind of different sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this one, and I'm going to resize this so that it better matches the image next to it. So to do that, I think I just need to kind of move this around a little bit. That looks pretty darn good. And while I'm in here, to make sure that kind of the soap dish here is always the main focus, I'm going to narrow in my hotspot so that whenever we're looking at different crops, that soap dish is for sure front and center. So just a nice couple of tweaks that we can make here while we're in the mindset of this page. So I'll publish that. And as I scroll through here, I think that this page is looking great. So I'm going to go back to my original to-do list that I was working on before I got a message from Marissa on that change. All right, so the task at hand for me was actually one of our artists reached out and wanted us to remove her middle name. And so for me as a merchandiser, I'm pretty familiar with our content model, and for me it's faster to actually go back to the structure. So here is the artist who has asked that we go ahead and remove her middle name. And that's easy to do. I can just go ahead and remove that here. And now I see that this is updated. I also have really nice cues here, which tell me where her artist bio is published. And so if I wanted to go ahead and spot check any of these, 7 references here, or in another, this is our website, and in another presentation service, we've got our in-store kiosks, I can go ahead and check that out. So I'll just do a quick QA. And here as I scroll down, perfect. I see her name has been updated, no middle name, she's happy. This is a perfect example of how much structured content and content reuse scales your day-to-day workflows. I had to make this change one time, and I'm now confident that it has rolled through everywhere that I need to make that adjustment. Awesome. So that's really the bulk of the demo here that I wanted to show you. And before we wrap up, I'll just highlight a couple of other really nice features within the presentation tool that we rolled out today. So the first is, I have this really wonderful large preview of my website. And what I'm able to do is use this to navigate across the website. But right now I'm in the edit mode. So that means, if I wanted to edit the title here to be something other than process, I could. If I want to actually switch out of edit mode, now I can just navigate the website as though it were published in the browser. And so this is a really great way when you're working to just be able to move around your site right within the context where you work. And then here we've got a URL bar, so you can easily just go ahead and type in any URL that you want to work on. So in that example from Marissa, I could have just grabbed that URL and pasted it in here as another option. I can hop out to view the presentation in the browser very easily. And then I also have a really wonderful implementation here of Sanity perspectives. And so what this allows me to do is, as we've kind of gone over, this page here, this presentation is comprised of many different Sanity documents or content types. And so in this moment, I am viewing all of the drafts that exist of any of these content types that I am using to comprise this page. And if I wanted to switch to see exactly what's published right now, I could do that as well. And then, of course, next to our published option, we've got the mobile view. So if you need to see how things wrap and what they look like in a narrower frame, that's right at your fingertips as well. And the very last thing that I would love to call out is, modern content teams, you're creating and curating content across all different surfaces. You've got lots of digital touch points that you're operating against. And with Sanity, you can create these presentations across many of them. Here's an example. We've got one for our main website. We've got another set up for our in-store kiosks. You could have one for your mobile app, for microsites, any kind of end presentation or customer experience that you're working on. You can work from the context of that experience and still be able to keep track of, where the content that you're working on is reused across other pages in your experience. We're super excited for this new option to help editors work more efficiently for visual first tasks and for commenting within the context of your workflows so that you can really increase transparency and clarity as you collaborate with your teammates. And of course, to implement these features, we've really created a streamlined developer experience. So there's a link to documentation here for both comments and presentation, either in the webinar resource or on demand. We'll have a video link. And we'll also have an event on December 7th for developer implementation to really go through the developer experience and make sure that you have all of your questions answered to bring this to your teams. Okay, so that is it for presentation and comments. And now I have the pleasure to pass it over to you, Simeon, for your demo of the Embeddings Index API. I can't wait to see it.
Hey Molly, it's really awesome to see all of that flow come together. I can't wait to spend more time with those tools and play around with these great new visual editing experiences that we're building inside of the Sanity Studio. But what I want to show to you today is an excerpt from a forthcoming guide on how to do personalization with AI tools in Sanity. So what I've got here is the sort of product page you'd see on a lot of e-commerce sites, and this is a really easy query to create. We'd use Grok. We would say I only want documents of the type product. I only want them to have a specific activity, a specific gender, a specific category. And that's very easy to do. It's rigid. It's what we'd call a faceted query because we know exactly which values we want to use to query against which fields in those documents. But what becomes really more complicated is if we think about something like a wish list page. Say I've got a shoe in my wish list. I would like to show to the user other items that are like that item. And this is easy to do when we know in advance what the item is. So in advance, I'd say, here's a shoe type product that's for men for the road. But that's only simple because I know this product in advance. What if we have many different product types with many different categories? We would have to create a huge query to be able to surface similar documents, and this would be difficult in Grok or GraphQL or RESTful APIs. Imagine if we had gift cards or events. Those are very different product types. So how do we easily write queries to get similar items to whatever item might end up in the wish list? And all of this is powered by the Embeddings Index API, which, as I mentioned, was released recently and is still available in beta. There's lots of different ways to use the Index API. You can use it to power chatbots and all sorts of different experiences. And we can have a look at the Embeddings Index API. I'm going to switch back to the front end here and go and have a look at the studio that powers this particular one here. And as you can see, it's in progress as we speak. I'm re-indexing these products at the moment. And what we have here, we can have a look. I've just added to this one index just documents of the type product, and then just a few of these specific fields off of those documents. And this is great to see. You might be able to have multiple indexes. Perhaps you have an index just for interacting with FAQ documents, or an index for interacting with event type documents, because the experiences and the searches against those might be different. And we've got a free text box here to be able to query against them. And so the idea of the embeddings index is that we can search for things based on similarity and even semantic similarity. So I can say shoes, and it should return me some shoes, which is great. And I could say a shirt, and it'll return some shirts. But we can be cleverer than this as well. I could say things to put on your head, and it should return me hats. So this is the way that these semantic searches are so much more flexible, in that we can just throw queries at it, and we should have some reasonable expectation that we will get great results back for that query. And that's how this wish list is working. I haven't had to describe exactly the specifics about these documents. I've got some text here that explains what we're seeing, and this is only being shown because we're looking at a demo site at the moment, but these similar items have been retrieved because we're querying that index for men's road shoes, because that's what I have in here. And if I had a pair of socks in the wish list instead, it would be searching for socks, and it would then return me more socks, just like we saw in that search box in the studio there. And let's consider one more advanced way that we could use this for a cart page. So again, the concept of a wish list page is we would want to show you more items that are likely to be added to the wish list based on what you already have in there. But when we're in a cart and we're doing a checkout here, we probably don't want the person to buy more pairs of shoes just because they are already about to check out with pairs of shoes. We'd want to show them things that perhaps are a little cheaper than those shoes, and things that would be complementary to those shoes. And so here I've combined the Sanity Embeddings Index API along with OpenAI. And so what's happening first is OpenAI is examining the contents of the cart and then creating a search query that we can use in the Embeddings Index API. So here my cart contains that same shoe, and so OpenAI is saying, well, a good search query for complementary items would be men's road socks. And so we can see here a few examples of socks, and if I go and add some of those to the cart, we can see how this should adapt. This will generate a new query based on, well, my cart now contains socks and shoes, therefore a query for something complementary would be a pair of shorts. And so there you see it immediately, this great example of how we haven't had to build out a really complex and multi-dimensional query in order to get similar items. These AI tools are clever enough on their own to rank things by similarity and return them based on what we already know. So that's how you might use the Embeddings Index API for more personalized experiences. There's a forthcoming guide on that. Look for that soon. And that's my part there. Thanks.
Thank you, Simeon. Thank you, Molly. Okay, let's talk pricing. The Embedding Index API is available on all paid plans. The comments feature is also available on all paid plans. And actually, the presentation tool is free. It's available on absolutely all plans, regardless. So everything is ready to use right now. Just check our blog or our documentation, or you'll find all the details on how to add this to your studio. And then remember to join us on December 7th for a developer event where you can get behind the scenes with the teams behind these features and look at how to implement these in a good way in your studios and talk to them about how it's put together. So thank you again to Toby Jarvis, Molly Frederick, thank you to Simeon, and thank you to everyone who was involved in this amazing release. That's really, really impressive. And last but not least, thank you to everyone watching. You are all legends. Thank you.